Hi, my name is Maureen and I'm a first-generation immigrant. So a big expectation that they had was essentially coming here for a better life and for being able to create a better future for themselves. So I'm originally from Nigeria, and Nigeria is a country it's a beautiful country. It's rich in resource. The reality though is that it is a developing country and it has its challenges. So in terms of basic things like healthcare, or just even the realities of corruption in the country, that's affected the infrastructure and made life very difficult for different people. So things we take for granted here in terms of the way things operate, they don't run in a similar way. It's connected to Nigeria being a former colony of the United Kingdom. So Nigeria got independence from the United Kingdom in 1960. And so I remember when I traveled back to my grandfather's village about 4 years ago, and I went back to my granddad's compound in his house, and you have pictures of him on the wall with my entire family, etc. And then you have a picture of the Queen, and I was like, what's that about? And my dad was saying, oh yes, your granddad loved the Queen, and that was quite a thing with that generation. So there was such a huge respect for the UK, the royal family, and what that represented. If you're wanting to move forward in life, go to the UK. Something I realized was even recognizing how pioneering my parents have been to have taken that move. It just reminds me of actually not to take for granted the space I sit in here and the space I hold here. In context of what they've done and what they've forged, the path they forged for me. It's about actually recognizing what am I called to do. So in God placing me in this position, what does he want me to do with it? How can I be faithful? How can I use it to not only support people I'm around, but also to give back to those that are back home and to forge the way? A key thing I've learned is how to walk in faith. I have memories even growing up of things not being easy. There were times when my dad was working initially and he had a good job. There were times when he wasn't able to, and that was related to, immigrant issues, and that wasn't easy. And I'm thinking of, my goodness, how would I have dealt with that if, I didn't have a steady income at the time, or I didn't know where the next paycheck was coming from. They walked in places of faith, had a really great faith community, and also some people who really supported us that made such a difference. And that also inspired my faith as a child and has inspired me as I've grown older. And just to see how God has connected the dots to the point where, my parents, they owned like more than one property. I've been able to buy my first property last year as a result of part of what they've sown into. And it's just that thing of resilience, having faith, and seeing God come through in ways that are better than what you could have imagined. So my parents are teachers. They've been able to actually support so many people at such a pivotal time in their lives to forge careers and the foundations of being able to step into lives that are more fulfilling. So that has also been so pivotal for me as well. So funnily enough, I trained to be a clinical pharmacist, and I did that for a few years. But I've actually made a career change. But essentially what I do now is I'm a leadership consultant and coach. But that was very much inspired by teaching. It was recognizing I had the gift of teaching. When thinking of that question, what am I most proud of? I'm literally thinking of the song Oceans, where, it says, you call me out into the water, into the great unknown. And I think what I'm most proud of is when I'm just looking back again, I think especially now, thinking of the context of me being the age my parents would have been when they took the step to come here, I'm proud of them of taking that step in faith, to step into the unknown, to leave what they knew, to leave what was comfortable, and to aspire for better and hope for better, and to be living in the legacy of that. My hope for the next generation is to identify how we can pioneer and forge new paths, and recognize that in the same way that new things are being formed for us, and we'd be able to step into areas and avenues we wouldn't have been able to, that we're able to do the same and steps, I guess, create visions where we can see that for those who are coming up. My hope for London is that in the midst of all the diversity, the colors, the noise, that people are really able to find a space of peace and community. I think my biggest lesson in all of this, when I look at my parents' story, is just even recognizing how the people around them really supported them in ways that really just testified to God's goodness. And so my hope for London is that we are, people, as we sit in the world in London today, we're able to find those spaces with each other, because it's so important for us to be able to be our best selves in the future.